Ever since moving halfway across the world, I've had one thing on my mind, and that's exploring the Australian outback. I'd heard so much about the 1,000k pilgrimage over to Adelaide, with people doing it in a day, people doing it in over a week, but it always ends with the best week of the year and tour down under. So that got me thinking. Hey dude, had a bit of an idea. Why don't we ride from my house in Melbourne all the way to Adelaide? About 1,000k, we can do that in 7 days.
Think it's possible?
Yeah, I think we'll find out. There's nothing much in between though.
Alright, count me in, I'll be there.
So, the plan. Myself, Lawrence Carpenter, and Ollie Jones would bikepack between the two cities, hopefully making it in time for the Tour Down Under, a race that kicks off the World Tour calendar and the only acceptable place for a cyclist to be in January. The journey will head west from Melbourne, covering a distance of just under 1,000 kilometres, first hitting the city of Ballarat before heading into some of the harshest terrain in the world, the Australian outback. With a very limited selection of towns along the way, the adventure will focus on the self-sustaining nature of overland travel and the people and communities along the way. This is the story of two mates putting their bodies and minds to the test. This is Overland.
First problem. I thought I was being a genius buying big bottles, but it turns out I've got no space.
It's just not going to happen. I won't be able to get the bottles out.
Yeah, man, it was pretty unbelievable, to be honest. We pulled up to the train station. It was beautiful. Centre of Melbourne was busy. Yeah, a little crow off the top of the bus shelter, just whoop, before I even hit go on the Wahoo, to be honest. Yeah, that was some start to the trip. How is that possible? Here we are, mate. This is the station. It's the start of the Overland. Pretty slow going, getting out of the city. It's always gonna be the problem with the day. 30k in and we're still going on cycle paths and whoop, getting chopped up at roundabouts, but we're starting to get out there now. It's just a block headwind. First 40k getting out of the city was a bit stop-start, and then the road started to open up, started to get a little bit faster. We took this right-hand bend just onto the first bit of gravel of this 1,000k trip. And it was just the worst bit of corrugated washboard I've ever ridden. I mean, we rode Arenberg 2 years ago. It was worse. It was genuinely awful. Luckily, nothing fell off the bike, but it was really close. But the one kind of saving grace was we came just over the top of the hill and we could look back to our right, and then there in the distance you could see the Melbourne skyline. Oh my God. And that was probably one of the best parts of that first day. Buddy! Woo! It was like we're in the jungle. I know, we were in the desert 5 minutes ago. Now we're climbing up through the forest. Unreal. About 3 cars in the last 20k or so. What the fuck? It's like this.
So we rolled into the town of Overland, which was a really, really beautiful little town, and we saw this incredible diner in the distance painted pink and light blue, kind of turquoisey blue, and I thought, that is a fantastic looking shot. I'm going to stop there and get some shots of it. And as we were stood there, this woman comes out and she's like, you boys have to have a free slushie on the house.
What is a slushie? Do you know what that is?
Yeah.
It's like a frozen ice, raspberry or pine.
We've been living off slushies all week.
Where are you from?
We are from London.
Oh, you're from London.
She's letting us in. She invites us in, she gives us a tour of this like old school 50s American diner she's built in this random Australian village.
This is so fun. This is incredible.
I hate photos.
And then we later find out that she's never left Australia, never been to America. None of the stuff is kind of from America, she's just collected it at vintage shops.
So you like your diner, do you?
Mate, this is going to get us through the last 40k of the day. He was super gassed to show us, and you know, we got Johnny Cash on the old jukebox. We enjoyed our free slushies, got a little bit of a tour, and then we were on our way. Holy.
It's gonna take, it's gonna take, it's gonna take my heart and soul, my heart and soul. We started off before I started school. Mom and Dad said we're heading south. It's gonna be the long way home. It's gonna take.
Last one, baby.
It's gonna take my heart and soul, my heart and soul.
Arrived into Ballarat, a town that I hadn't been to in pretty much 10 years.
Any other night in the last 40 years, right now, there would be the National Cricket Championships for Australia taking place around this little square. But for the first time ever, or in a long time, they've moved it to Perth. So it's not here. How disappointing is that?
Day one.
Day one, mate, box ticked.
3 days you have to say
Bro, my fucking body is so heavy.
So very optimistically woke up, spent about 10 minutes applying a load of sun cream to our face and arms, and hit out onto the road, and very quickly we realised that it was not going to be the day that we expected. In the distance we could see some really dark clouds. I checked the forecast, and true enough, to our surprise, a lot of rain was rolling in.
Trying to tuck the camera in the jersey out of the rain, but it's one of them zips that just opens. So put the camera in, the jersey comes open. As we got closer and closer, it's you know, we had to check the weather app, and it was not looking good for us. So we knew there was going to be a cafe in kind of 20k into the day, which timed up perfectly with the downpour and the thunderstorm that rolled in.
We kind of dived in, ordered some breakfast, a really beautiful cafe. Almost the second we walked in, the heavens opened. It started thundering, and me and Ollie, I think, started to look at each other and think, are we going to be spending the whole day here?
Just in time for the thunder.
Oh, mate, we
erupt.
timed that well. Lo and behold, the cafe was waiting. They were lovely, letting us hide us out. Mate, what do you make of it out there?
Thunder and lightning. Very, very frightening. So after checking the forecast and figuring out that the rain was probably there to stay, we decided to brave it. We put 2 jerseys on.
Lack of rain gear means you just put all the kit on that you have, which in this case is just a second really, really thin jersey.
I've got a very, very thin gilet and arm warmers, so.
And we rolled out into the rain, decided to stay on some main roads to make up some lost time.
It's pretty crazy. I mean, once you're out into the sticks there, once you leave a town, there really is nothing. And we were just heading further and further away from any kind of saviour or shelter. And, you know, the heavens kind of opened. But luckily we managed to press on a bit, keep the speed high, and kind of get through it towards the blue skies again.
Before we knew it, we arrived in this town of Ararat. Ararat? I don't know how you say it.
A main part of the day was seeing the Overland train. Obviously, we did quite a lot of research about it before this. It's the kind of inspiration behind the journey we're doing. To actually see that roll into Ararat and kind of get up close to it, take a photo with it was super cool actually.
Off it goes. It only runs twice a week. This is the only time in the whole trip that it crossed paths with us, and we've seen it pull in.
Yeah, then we got a tour of the museum afterwards. We could see kind of some history of where we were and how obviously important it is to everyone around here.
Lots of historic little pieces, and the guys came out to speak to us to, of course, ask where we're going, all the usual stuff.
We're in business, baby. Let's go.
Thankfully, after a day of rain, we managed to find a pressure washer to clean the bikes.
The state of those bikes, they were crusted. I mean, I was crusted in dirt. I think we spent about 5 minutes on our Quoc shoes between us and then sorted the bikes, which are now spanking clean, I tell you. I need to put some wax on mine, otherwise the chain's gonna rust tonight.
Shine it. Today's the Queen stage of the trip, 170k on the cards. We're heading out to the Grampians National Park, which for the past 3 weeks has been burning with forest fires. We don't really know what to expect when we get there. It's only opened again a couple of days ago. Yeah, I mean, obviously we've been following along the progress of the fires for a couple of weeks before we got there. You know, we got to see the damage they've done on the news and on the websites and all of that. Actually rolling into the national park and seeing for the first time just the devastation that it caused was pretty surreal, actually. I've never seen anything like it. All the trees were completely black. Any vegetation was like burnt and orange, like the whole, as far as you could see, it was really something.
Suddenly being in that environment, surrounded by really black trees, ash everywhere, and the devastation was pretty wild.
It smelt like the fire was still burning and we were riding through it, and that's something that, you know, I never imagined to see in my life.
So we entered this stunning little town of Hall's Gap, just at the bottom of the Grampians, and had an absolute feast.
Breakfast slash lunch. I mean, it's a little bit early for lunch, a little bit late for breakfast, but I need it now, otherwise I ain't getting up this climb. Once we leave this town, that's it. No water for the next 80k, something like that, which could be a while with that.
So we're going to stock up, right?
So we need to get fully stocked.
We were able to load up. We filled every container, every bottle full of liquid, grabbed a load of snacks, and then headed up the climb.
So almost halfway into the day, we came across what was the biggest climb on the trip. I think it was just over 10k at kind of 5.5%. The climb itself was just stunning. Up into the Grampians National Park, you know, we could see the view back over the town and where we'd ridden and where the fires had been right behind us, and we were just climbing up this beautiful road that followed the ridge. Ridden through that bit of forest, totally red. It's the stuff they drop out of the helicopters to kind of fight the forest fires. The descent back into the valley on the other side was insane. We were just hooning down the thing. One thing that I noted and we had to see on the route was these Mackenzie Falls. There's a bunch of waterfalls up in the top of the Grampians. Go see the waterfalls, we said. It would be easy, we said. It obviously added a couple of extra K to the route that we didn't really need at that point. As we pulled in, there was a couple of tourists there that told us that we couldn't get down there with our bikes. 500 steps later. Naively, we were like, nah, you know what, it'll be fine.
But what we didn't realise, there was actually a full-on hike to get down there. So
about 300 steps later, we got ourselves in a bit of a tricky situation.
We ain't getting down there. No way. No way, this was like the easy mode steps. I really wanted to put my head in a waterfall, but I feel like it's not happening today. The 80k without fuel really started to get to us. There was a really crazy long straight drag to get in. We were definitely, the legs were getting pretty heavy at that point. Once we managed to find the next supermarket, it's fair to say that we were a bit worse for wear. I need some cold liquid. Lawrence had somehow covered his jersey in so much salt, he needed to buy the entire supermarket. And we probably sat outside on that curb for a little bit too long.
Well done, mate. That was absolutely heroic. Oh, I was in a bit of a hole, to be honest. Ollie just did the last hour at least in the gutter. Got to this Woolworths here, and I've bought everything. We've got strawberries, we got bakery goods, we got crisps.
Just ticked over 5.5 hours deep. It's a big day on the bike. Another hour and a bit to go as well, so we might reach that 7-hour mark. With about 30k to go, we'd left our last resupply point and we just came across these insane straight pan flat farm roads. There's this feeling you get towards the end of a really long bike ride, but you kind of want it to be done, but it's also this like great feeling of achievement. And I think we were flying along knowing that we were completing this big day, but so exhausted.
So after 7 hours of bike riding, we finally made it to our motel.
Made it.
And the guy upon check-in told us that there was a swimming pool. And of course, Ollie did the only thing that any sane person would do after riding for 7 hours.
Didn't care about the key to the room. We beelined it straight for the pool. I didn't even take any of my cycling kit off. It was just straight. Very deep. Honestly, the best post-ride feeling I've ever had. Oh, bro, it's so nice. Bro, it's quite warm.
Oh, bro, I want to cry. This is unbelievable. Other than the sun cream in my eyes right now, this is great.
We started the day as we have done most days on this trip. It was this really cool, old, quaint, super Australian train station. Managed to get up on the platform. It was just us and a couple of tradies, and it was just a perfectly fitting start to the day. These rural Australian bakeries are unreal. I've been told there's this whole thing where each village tries to get the best bakery, so every single one is just like the best homemade cakes you've ever seen. And when you're a little bit cracked in the morning, it just gets you ready for the day. Sausage roll, biscuit thing, fizzy bobbly, sorted.
What a start to the morning, Ollie.
Unreal, isn't it?
What a start.
We made it to tarmac.
Made it to tarmac and the hill.
What hill? Oh, near hill.
The hill.
I've got Coke, got some yogurt, I've got lots of liquid, and yeah, just relieved to be out in the sun for 10 minutes.
You're riding that way, you're riding into the wind most of the time. Wind's always coming from the west. I ride.
Yeah, most
There's
of
a
the
few
way.
of us ride a bike here.
Yeah.
How many k's a day do you do?
Like 140-ish?
It's only a bit over 300 from here.
Yeah. But I think we go around a bit just to avoid.
Pretty off, though.
Yeah, it's meant to cool down a bit tomorrow.
Just a bit.
Yeah, it's just a
Today
bit of a
is-
tough day.
Just a bit.
After leaving the train station in the morning, we were basically following the tracks the whole day. Every 10k or so we'd cross over, get another glimpse of the railway. I remember making a mental note to myself that the only point of caution of this whole route was basically right now. It was to not go beyond the town we've just been in, because it would be super exposed anywhere in the late afternoon. But it's 20 to 4 and here we are.
For about 20 kilometres, me and Ollie kept looking at the maps and zooming in and trying to work out exactly where the border crossing line was. Eventually we got to it and we were kind of expecting a big dramatic sign, but when we got there, there really wasn't anything other than a little change of surface in the tarmac and then a little sign which said, "Welcome to Victoria on one side and welcome to South Australia on the other."
See this line right here? That is Victorian concrete and that is South Australian concrete.
Does that mean there's half an hour between us right now?
So yeah, and a time zone. So I've just crossed from Victoria into a different state and with it, we've lost half an hour. So we made good time, Ollie. We've actually made time out of nowhere. It's like magic.
It's in the middle of probably one of the vastest expanses we've crossed on the trip. There was nothing.
How far to go today?
It's like under 20k now, isn't it?
To the town of?
To border town. Pretty chill. The border town is nowhere near the border.
Yeah, weird that.
Hopefully it is a town. Hey!
No way!
Yeah, my Wahoo says 1620 and that says 1550.
Having crossed the border, really nothing much changed. But one thing that definitely didn't change was the heat. It was absolutely roasting. It was pretty much 40 degrees.
It was fair to say that I wasn't probably dealing with it very well. Not really acclimatised to mid 40 degree weather. What you found, mate?
Look at this.
Do we have plugs anywhere near the bed? I love it here, we live here now. Plugs behind the bed, plugs by this bed. Aircon's on! Holy shit! So fucking good, man. Deservedly, after a hard day, we gave ourselves an extra 45 minutes in bed and we started the day, rather than getting on our bikes immediately, heading to the bakery to pick up some supplies. We walk into this bakery and there's a building inside the building and Lawrence goes and asks the lady behind the counter whether it's a real building. It turns out it was the old police station of the town and they just built a bakery around it and it was all there as if it was 50 years ago. And we were there buying sausage rolls and cakes. We've come across, not only have we not seen any cars for ages, we've found a traffic jam.
The crosswinds today were really, really brutal. Me and Ollie were taking it in turns to hide behind each other. Me, certainly more than him. The landscapes certainly did not help, being so open and vast.
We've just come to the realisation that the last 4 days we've had pretty nice tailwind because we haven't really had to think about the wind, but today that's changed.
It was meant to be a bit of an easier day, but we ended up spending all day in the gutter. Beautiful. I feel like that's wrong. Someone's going to be really angry with us for that. Quoc. Can I get a waffle with...
We learned that every town has three things: a pub, a bakery, and a gas station, except Quoc, which had pretty much just a waffle shop.
What are you getting, Ollie?
Banana and Biscoff waffles.
Wow.
for breakfast. Might be the best breakfast so far. It was something we were kind of craving, was a good feed, I think, by this point. It was, yeah, day 6. We'd had a lot of motel food, a lot of palms, a lot of fried stuff, and getting stuck into a homemade Belgian waffle in the morning before a bike ride is like, can't beat it. Oh mate, that sun. And it's super weird, you know, we're in the middle of nowhere. We find this little waffle shack that this woman's moved to Australia, I think it was 20 years ago, and has set up, and you know, there we are, reminiscing with her about stories of racing in Belgium.
So we started it as a hobby about 13 years maybe ago. We missed our waffles too much. And so we bought an iron and just started doing it at parties. And my son, who was 12 or 13 at the time, he wanted to get a bit of pocket money. So we bought a little marquee and set it up on a Sunday here and there. Then it just grew like into this.
It's the best breakfast. Maybe the best food we've had all week.
How friendly as well. What a legend.
So lovely. This was, it was a bit of a weird day because originally the route we had planned, we kind of followed the highway a little bit closer, but there was no towns at all. So the day would have been like 100k with nothing, which, you know, in the heat when it's close to 40 degrees was probably a pretty stupid idea. So I did a bit of playing around with the route, and we found that we could do a slight diversion where it was then just 50k to the next town. So it was one road, and it was just one of the straightest roads I've ever ridden my bike on, just 50k, nothing. The sign didn't lie. And it was real nice to get to a town after that.
We walked into this convenience store, and instantly in front of us was this woman who was kind of giving us a little bit of a weird look, and me and Ollie looked at each other like...
So we just walked into the supermarket, and the woman behind the counter says hello, asks us how the ride was. Turns out she served us in the pub in the town like 50k ago last night. Now she's in the supermarket here.
What are the chances?
So funny. You know, she's a long way from home, but I mean, fair play. She's just showed that people out here are so friendly. We're absolutely flying, and it's a bit touch and go, but this ride might end inside 4 hours. $106k, 3 hours 57, under 4 hours, 27k an hour.
Boosh! And we're at the motor station.
And we're here. Our glorious accommodation for the night is another K that way. We were meant to stay in a little town called Wellington, but the one hotel that was there was full. So the next closest thing to there was the Bend motor racing circuit.
Which also happened to have a beautiful hotel on it, and it also had a bit of a museum in the lobby with probably the best car collection I think I've ever seen.
Are you a Ferrari fan?
Mate, I know nothing about cars, but it's pretty cool.
They had a whole collection of Ferraris, they had old Porsches, they had vintage cars, they even had some old F1 cars, and the car geek inside of me was a little bit too excited.
That was probably the most luxury of our accommodation for the whole trip. I was definitely getting a little bit done with the motels, I think. You start to crave an actual comfy bed and tap water that doesn't taste funny. You know, we're walking in after 5 hours on the bike, dripping with sweat and a bit gross, and we're just like looking at all these cars like...
No. No.
You just took 5 minutes to pack all of this. Ah! Big day.
It's the last day. Can't believe it. 130 kilometres into Adelaide.
Big day. getting ready. Locked in.
So we rolled up to this little queue that had formed by the side of the road, and we quickly realised that it was the ferry that we'd seen on commute a couple of weeks before.
It was the only bit of the route where when I was planning it, I didn't actually really know what was there. Strava kind of jumps you across the river, but when you zoom right in, you can't tell if it's a bridge or a ferry. So it was pretty cool when we rocked up and there was just like this boat sat there.
What's the top speed on this bad boy?
Yeah, 7.5, 8 k's an hour.
8 k's an hour. Faster than my running pace, that's for sure.
It's something that you don't always do on a bike ride is jump on a boat, so that was kind of fun.
For the first time on this trip, we can see Adelaide in the distance of my bike computer.
Mate, we're getting there. Under 100k to go. Dreams, morale is high. Well, the last day was really cool because I think after 3 days of quite barren landscape, it started to kind of really get a bit more exciting as we came into Adelaide Hills. It got greener and greener and more hilly as we went on. Yeah, something we'd been told to look out for was just the amount of wildlife, and especially the koala bears. We kept our eyes in the trees all day, but still yet to see one.
If I was a tiny little slow bear, I'd like these trees.
We were maybe 20k or towards the last hour into Adelaide. We come around this corner, up this climb, and the curve crew were parked there in the van, cheering us on. It was just nice to see a friendly face, you know?
I recognise you.
Yeah.
How's it going?
I'm good.
Hey man.
We're very happy to be within city border there.
Yeah, you're real close now, man.
Yeah.
The last climb of the trip, the last obstacle was Mount Lofty, or the famous Mount Lofty. And it was super cool because it was the first time we got a view of Adelaide, this city that had been our target for a whole week, that neither of us had ever been to. And we come over the crest of this climb, and you could just see all the way down to the sea, and you see Adelaide in front of you. And that was kind of when we knew that like we'd done it. We'd ridden 1000k from 2 major cities. Oh man, I still haven't taken his tags off.
He put his head up so he can breathe. Oh, there you go.
Well, we didn't find any koalas, but as a token to try and bring them out, we thought we'd get a friendly face. You know, they might be more attracted to come say hello to him than two English cyclists. He still hasn't got a name, but he did do the last 25k with us.
So after we'd had cheesecake at Mount Lofty, we descended down to the secondary viewpoint, which was, I think, even more stunning than the one above us.
I have a feeling this might be worth it.
Not only were we a little bit closer to the city, so you could see a lot of it in a lot more detail, but also there was hardly anyone.
It's completely insane. Look at it.
I guess the end of our journey, the train station, somewhere down there.
Keep your eyes out because there are lots and lots around.
Koala bears.
Yeah, well, I think we have to go around here, so hurry up.
We made it into Adelaide. Crazy. Absolutely crazy.
We were looking for the finisher point, which was the Adelaide Grand Station.
Really cool, old school train station, and that was just the icing on top of the cake. We were pretty cooked, but you just can't make up that feeling when you finish such an epic bike ride like that.
950 kilometres or thereabouts, 7 days, and yeah, the finish line.
We made it.
Can't believe it. A bit surreal, guys.
This is the end of the line. What a week it's been. It feels a bit crazy to finally be here. A week on the road.
So we made it, 950 kilometres between two major cities, crossing time zones, some of South Australia's toughest landscapes.
And now we're here in Adelaide. We are super excited to watch the Tour Down Under. Obviously the first World Tour race of the year. Everyone here says it's the best week of the year. One thing I've learned for sure on this trip is, just how vast Australia is. You don't want to mess with the outback out here.
Also, 5 chicken palms in a week is probably too many, eh, Ollie?
That's better as well.
I'll put them both in, maybe. We'll see.